Last week began a series of sermons, Advent series, on Christmas and the family. What we're going to be doing is looking at different aspects of family life, characteristics of families, and how they intersect at different points in the Christmas narratives. And I talked last week about how families naturally count gifts, and what does that mean about gifting and the love of God. Today I want to start this sermon with a personal anecdote, a memory, if you will. As I was growing up in Poplar Bluff, this was the Jesus I knew. A rather handsome young man, don't you think? Nice tan, long flowing, soft brown hair. He just looks like Jesus. That's my Jesus. And when I would pray to Jesus, sort of someone like that came to my mind. That was my picture of him. Or when I read about him, those little red letters that were in the Bible, that was a picture of the man who was speaking to me. So on and so forth. Well, years went by. I went to seminary in Atlanta. And one Sunday morning, I ended up in a church called the Shrine of the Black Madonna. It was a converted large theater, and as the doors from the narthex opened, I went in and I saw against the front wall a black Mary with a black baby Jesus. And I said to myself, I'm not in Poplar Bluff anymore. It was shocking because I never ever thought of Jesus looking like someone other than me. I thought at least Jesus would have red hair. No. And I thought, could I be wrong? And could Jesus be African American? Or, following that logic, could Jesus be Hispanic? Or could Jesus be Native American? What about Jesus being really a Palestinian? What about him being Asian American? And to top it all off, what about Jedi Jesus? You get the idea? So if you look at that panoply of faces of Jesus, only one of which would at least look like me, isn't that confrontive? Isn't that something that gets you on your toes and think, I don't know about that? Because I think we naturally want to pray to someone who looks like us. But if we reframe it here, if we rethink this in a broader context of the gospel, then I believe what we will discover is that actually, because Jesus doesn't look like us, because God is different from us, that is a basis for real, authentic celebration of what it means to have a baby Jesus born amongst us today. Let's reframe this. Let's not be quite so offended by this very fact that Jesus is not like us, and let's play that out. Jesus is going to come as a shock. Jesus did not speak English, not even King James. He never said thee, thine, or thou. Jesus, can we keep a secret? Jesus was a Jew. He believed in the tradition of Moses. Jesus was born into a society that thought that the sun went around the earth and that demons roamed the earth causing bad things to happen. Jesus was different from us. So when you think of that little baby in the manger, don't think of him quite so much of a relic from the past that is a reflection of the present. No, different. And it's much more to the point of seeing Jesus in images like that. because we're different from him. We ourselves are. He didn't know what a Republican or a Democrat was, or a liberal or conservative. There's no mention about any of the things that divide us being in his sphere at all. Certainly no mass communication and no diversity of cultures mingling. Nothing like that. And because we are so different from Jesus and Jesus from us, that is when we can really appreciate the foundation of the gospel at Christmas time. And that foundation is this: that God, seeing how different we are from him, I'm just using that intentionally now, God, seeing how intentionally different we are from him, adopted us. God adopted us. That's what adoption means, isn't it? Let me back up a little bit. I have to rethink my statement that's often made that there is nothing as strong as the love between a biological mom and dad for a child. It is an objective fact that my two children are the greatest children in the universe. You can read it on the internet. It's there. Every parent feels the same way about their biological children. It's strong. They would lay down their lives for the children. But I've come to understand that just as strong as that love is the love of adopted mom and dad for a child. Because this is a person or a couple who, maybe not knowing necessarily the background of the child, and maybe the child's from a different ethnicity or culture, not knowing how maybe the child was formed in the womb, who knows? But that couple, not from biological choice, but from spiritual choice, says, that is my son, that is my daughter, and I'm going to love them with all my heart. Now, I'm not making some great ideal about family life. All families, biological families, families with adopted children, all have different characteristics, different challenges. But that love is the same. No different biological love for children than adopted love for children. Maybe sometimes even stronger, because that type of love is made through choice and hope. I love the classic story of this first grade class where the teacher is showing a picture of a family, and one of the boys in the family has different colored hair. And one kid says, "Is that because he's adopted?" And little Jocelyn J., and there's always a Jocelyn J. in any class, I know all about adoption because I'm adopted. Well, what does it mean to be adopted? Another child asked. And Jocelyn J. said, "It means that I grew in my mommy's heart and not in her tummy." Classic line, true line. I grew in mommy's heart, not in her tummy. And what does that mean when we say, God adopted us? That you, in your very differentness, was loved by God. Not because you're good, but because God is good, and God's heart overflowed with love for you. Mark is going to read a passage from Paul, and he was the first one, the Apostle Paul, who really capsulized this Christmas gospel that we are family. Listen.
So we're reading from the book of Galatians. It's printed in your bulletin on the back of the notes if you want to follow. I'm saying that as long as the heirs are minors, they're no different from slaves, though they really are the owners of everything. However, they are placed under trustees and guardians until the date set by the parents. In the same way, when we were minors, we were also enslaved by this world's system. But when the fulfillment of the time came, God sent his Son, born through a woman and born under the law. This was so he could redeem those under the law, so that we could be adopted. Because you are sons and daughters, God sent the Spirit of his Son into our hearts, crying, Abba, Father. Therefore, you are no longer a slave, but a son or daughter. And if you are his child, then you are also an heir through God.
And the gospel is capsulated with God sent his Son so we could be adopted. Let that verse burn into your heart, into your mind right now. Because if you read Jesus' life, the narrative and all the Gospels, Jesus always resisted being the icon for any particular group. He wasn't a zealot, as the zealots tried to get him to be their leader. He wasn't a strict religious scribe, as the scribes wanted. He wasn't the king of the Jews, as some wanted him to be. He always resisted being categorized so that he could continue being different from us, so that he could show that through the love he embodied, we are adopted into the family. We are sons and daughters. And if you believe that Christmas message, then you have to believe two things that are absolutely imperative for you and I to do. It's not enough just to believe, oh, Jesus, Son of God. It is imperative for you to act on the gospel that you see on the screen, that we are adopted by God. And you act on it, first of all, by doing this, by actually showing some respect for the God who adopted you. Where did we ever get the notion that God's just another buddy, like Buddy Jesus? Remember old Buddy Jesus? The new and improved consumer-friendly Jesus. How could we, the Son of God, treat the Son of God as if that he would always endorse whatever we think? How could we ever treat God as if we would slice and dice from the Bible what we want so that we can make a graven image and call that graven image Jesus, who endorses us, even our prejudices? That is blasphemy. To really believe that what you see up on the screen, that we are adopted, means that we respect the God who loved us unconditionally, not because of who we are, but because of who God is. It is meaning that we do not expect God just to comfort and console us, but also to confront us and challenge us. It means that we have to have that humility, kneeling before God, to understand how we can be a better son and daughter under the parenthood of God. And for me, and this is my own bias, for me, one of the best ways we could do it on an everyday basis is to watch our tongue. I think it's a little tacky for us to use God's name as if God's just another one of us. God, it is so hot in here. God, did you hear what she said? Did you see God? Did you see what he did? Folks, why do we use God's name like that? And sometimes, why do we use it as a preface to a curse? Why? I think the Jewish tradition has it right that we respect God's name because God loves us, and we need to show a little respect to such a God. And while we're at it, the second thing to do to really respond to that gospel is we have to respect one another a lot more. Because if indeed the gospel is that God says that you're my son, you're my daughter, then that means you're my brother and you're my sister. You know, we've lived through a year that's so divisive into all the camps. Can you imagine how our nation and our world would be different if we ever really treated others, especially those different from us, as if they're family? Think how it would be different in Syria. Think of how it would be different in Missouri. Fact of the matter is, if we're honest with that gospel that we are all children of God, then we have to be honest with the gospel that we are brother and sister together. And we, individually and as a church, have to proclaim that. Actually, to be able to do that is to see that our diversity is our strength. Because as we see the breadth of how different we are, we can affirm the God who loves us all equally. That's what I love about our statement, welcome statement, up close and personal. Because we say, you come in here, you are going to be treated as a respected brother or sister, period. Don't care about your politics. You know who my brother is? Donald Trump. You know who my sister is? Hillary Clinton. That's what we proclaim when we say, don't care about your politics, you're respected and loved here. Don't care about your sexual orientation. Don't care about your ethnicity. Don't care about your family structure. Don't care about your socioeconomic status. Don't care about any of these and 20, 50, 100 more. We care about you. You have a place at the table because we believe that you are our brother and sister. And as we love our brother and sister, so do we love the Father who adopted us. I want to draw this sermon toward a close by not telling you about any more adopted love. I want people, a couple who really know what this type of love is, to share with you their feelings. Adam Caldwell is a colleague, a United Methodist clergyman, and he and his wife, Drew, adopted little Emma. And I want you to hear their
My name is Adam Caldwell. This is my wife, Drew Caldwell, and this is our newest little one, Emmanuel Thomas Caldwell. We call her Emma. Our adoption story started when we were 19 years old, dating in college. We had talked about, even since then, having 2 biological kids and then adopting 2 kids. It's just always been on our heart. So our oldest 2 kids are Israel, he's 8. Our middle child is Ezekiel, he's just getting ready to turn 6. And then now Emmanuel is with us, and she's just shy of 3 months old.
When we talked about adopting, I always expected that my heart would just burst with love for our newest child if and when they were coming home. And then we met her birth mom in a meeting. She chose us through an agency that we were partnered with, and she chose an adoption plan for herself and for her family. And when we met her, we absolutely fell in love and had the pleasure of taking her to all of her doctor appointments, and we were with her when she went into labor, and we were in the room whenever Emma was born. So for me, our adoption story was not what I expected. It wasn't just, now we have a 3rd child that I didn't carry, but I've loved throughout her entire pregnancy. Now we have her extended family that we also count as our family, and we're very excited moving forward to allow her to stay connected with them and how their relationship with us is going to change our family as well.
Emma's birth stories, I don't know, it's kind of interesting. My uncle actually passed away at about the same time that she was born. So on the 16th of September was his funeral, and I got a call from Drew that morning. I was 3 hours away in Illinois, so I had to drive back to St. Louis. And I had only taken, I had, a T-shirt and some khaki shorts, and I had forgotten to bring sandals, so all I had was black dress shoes. So when I got to the hospital, I was literally running through the hospital with just black dress shoes on, no socks. And I got into the room, and Emma's birth mom.
Her birth mom kept saying, "Where's Adam? Where's Adam? He was going to be here." And I said, "He's driving. He will be here." And she said, "Well, I can try to wait." And I said, "No, you don't try to wait. You just do your thing." And she was born after only 5 pushing contractions, and Adam was there for the last 2. So she was glad that he made it, and she laughed at him later for his dress shoes and his khaki shorts.
Yeah.
But obviously, when you want to grow your family, any way you do it is worth it, and we're just so excited to have her and to watch her grow and to allow her to interact with her birth family as well as ours. Her birth family as well as ours.
I love the image of Adam, khaki shorts, white legs, black dress shoes with no socks, running down the hall to go into the birthing room of that young African American woman who is giving birth to their daughter. White and black coming together to form a love that knows no color. We are brother and sister together because God at Christmas time is a God running down that hallway, khaki shorts, black shoes, and bursting into the birthing room, saying, "Am I on time? Am I on time?" And then, upon our birth, looking at us and saying, "Welcome to the family."
I want to share a song with you that I wrote after I adopted my daughter as well. This is a song for her and my friend. We both adopted children about the same time. You weren't born of my body, but you grew in my heart. From the first day you took breath, oh sweet child of mine, do you know that we're coming? Are you staring out a window, just longing to play? Oh sweet child of mine, do you long for a mother, someone to look up to and show you the way? And sweet child of mine, do you dream of a daddy who put you on his shoulders and hold your small hand? I want you to know we're counting the days until we can hold you and look in your eyes. A bedtime lullaby is soon our delight. So hold on, sweet child of mine. To know we're done counting days until we can hold you and look in your eyes. Now I'm holding you close, I sing la la loo, my treasure, oh sweet child of mine, my treasure, oh sweet child.